bring you today. I'm going to bring you the results of the May stats, and we'll be able to go over all those. We're going to present them at the sales meeting tomorrow, but I'm going to give you a first shot at them since you're such a distinguished crowd, and I worked on them all this morning. So let me bring those up, and I will get started here. Collier, share. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. 1 second here. All right. So again, this chart is comparing May of this year to May of last year, which, as we all know, was one of the best real estate years ever on record. So oftentimes when you're comparing year over year, maybe it can be a little bit misleading. So I've got the new charts also to show you, which are comparing the trend over the last year, month by month. So we'll take a look at both of these. And the first thing we see here is that prices are still going up. The median price going up this much really is as much reflective of the product mix as it is of the actual market, because every neighborhood is going to be different, and a lot of prices are not going up this much. It's just that the mix of prices is favoring the higher priced properties. The higher priced luxury market is still doing very well. So it's actually moving the median, which is the middle. So if it's the middle of all the sales, and there's 1,356 overall sales, as you can see in the bottom there, somewhere around the 600th sale is the one that creates the median. And as the market trend is toward slightly higher priced properties and luxury properties, it's driving that middle up a little bit higher probably than is what's happening in most markets. So again, real estate is local. We have over 300 communities in the community library for NABOR. So, it really is a something that you have to take into account. Obviously, the median price moving up means that there's still more higher priced properties selling than lower priced properties. And that's true of the inventory of higher priced properties is growing faster than the inventory in the lower priced properties. So take into account that even though we see a substantial increase, a lot of it is due to the characteristics of those 1,356 sales. Days on market, one of the things I'm looking at, because I prepare these charts every month, is even though it's down 64% from last year, it's the same as it was last month. So we're starting to see some stabilization in the market, and that's a good thing. Look, we have 1,539 new listings coming in the market and only 1,522 pendings, meaning we're now starting to put a little bit more into the inventory hopper than we're taking out. And that's a good thing. And again, if you take a look at the inventory, look at the fact that now we're comparing inventory this year to inventory last year, and we're seeing significant drops in inventory levels. Now we're starting to see a rise in the month supply to be the same as it was a year ago for single family and overall, and down just slightly for condos. So the market is starting to stabilize, and it's starting to look a lot more balanced. Pricing, though, if you look at the overall sales are down, less inventory, less sales, but more options coming on the market and more stability, I think, in the marketplace. I don't hear the big multiple offer situations. You might have a couple, 3 offers, but you're not having 12, what I hear from talking to people. But again, look at prices. These are the percentage above the individual sales sign. There is the average list to sell for overall market, for single family homes, and for condos. So understand that this represents a market that's becoming more stable, that's looking better from the standpoint of options for buyers, and conversely options for sellers who told you 6 months ago, I'd love to sell, but I have nowhere to go. Now there's more and more options out there. So the market seems to be, even though we call it a shift, it seems to be shifting to a little bit more parity and a little bit more ease of finding inventory. So I think overall good. Pricing still an issue, although, like I say, I think that these price increases in the median price are due to the product mix, not necessarily the overall prices. So we'll take a look at Lee. Now we're starting to see cases where the behavior in Lee and the behavior in Collier are starting to become slightly different. We notice that in the luxury market, it's significantly different in terms of pricing, inventory, and overall sales. So Lee County, which typically represents a different environment, a different set of price points, is behaving differently and we're starting to see a fairly big separation in the way that they're behaving. So taking a look at median prices are still up, but they're well below what we saw in Collier. So does this mean people are seeking opportunities more in Lee because of the price points and the availability of inventory? I believe so. So again, days on market is down over last year, but similar to what it was last month and the last couple months. New listings coming in, good news, up 13%. But we're seeing an increase in sales activity, properties going under contract because of those more new opportunities there. So your pendings are up a little bit, but look, they're very similar to the new listings. So there's still in this month a balance of what came into the market and what was put under contract. Again, we're starting to see inventories still down over last year, but we're starting to see 1.6, 1.7, condo inventory a little low at 1.2, still down over last year. But look at the sales results. The sales say, hey, we're down moderately over last year, but certainly significantly less than what we saw in Collier. So this is a market that's starting to behave differently, probably because the availability of inventory and the opportunity for lower price points. So there you go. These again, I'll put out on the Facebook page so you have them to send to your customers. And at any time, if you want these sent in to you individually, just jonesnaples@kw, I'll be glad to send them to you, no problem. All right, so let's take a look at the bigger picture here, which will compare the last few months. There we go. I gotta get back to my Zoom. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Yes? Oh,
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is a longer look at the market. It's a little bit, got maybe too many numbers on it, but the trend lines are instructive here. So if you start taking a look back in December when we kind of hit the bottom of the market as far as inventory goes, and we're starting to climb up. That's not a straight line, but if you take a look at what happened in December and extrapolate all the way up to May and look at the number of total properties available for sale, look at the number of listings while it's kind of gone down a little bit in the last couple months, it's still a trend line upward. And we're starting to see pendings, trend down a little bit. So that's overall a good sign. More properties available for sale, more coming on the market than going pending, right? And these are all a good sign. And again, I'll put these charts out there. We got a little summary at the bottom. Now we're comparing the current versus the previous month, right? And so you're starting to be able to see inventory going up over last month, new listings going down slightly, sold even, and pended down. Same month over last year, different behavior, and current versus same quarter a year ago. So hopefully you can use these stats to send to your customers so they can start to see that the market is improving. It's not obviously going in a straight line. Markets don't behave that way. But if you take a look at the home for sales, up 31% over last month and 76% over last year. I'm just typing a quick text here. Anyhow, you can start to see, so we're combining looking at month over month, year over year to showing some trend lines to see what we can see what's happening in the market recently. And we'll try another approach to it, and that is you see that okay? Let me bring it down a little bit. Everybody see it okay? Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, it didn't give me the little message, so I got to ask. But again, this is a little smoother picture of what's happening to month supply. And we're still seeing median price continue to climb, but not at a steep rate. Okay. So the median's starting to the median's starting to flatten out a little bit, but look at the number of the inventory, 1.6 months supply compared to this month last year, 0.6 supply. That's good sign, good healthy sign that we're seeing more opportunities for buyers. Sorry, broker Jeff's trying to multitask here. Doesn't always work very well. There we go. Good. All right. So, well, let's take a look. We'll switch over to Lee. Again, here's the Lee sales curve. Even a little bit more pronounced since December of the inventory available for sale. And then of course the green is sold. But look at how listings have climbed up, pendings have stabilized a little bit. So we're seeing this light green bar. We have more properties for sale. There we go. Any comments or questions on this? I mean, I got this little pitch down at the bottom that you can send to your customer showing just a summary of what's happening. The number of homes for sale is growing. We can take a look at some price decreases that are going on in the market. There's quite a few of them where people were looking to make a killing, and now they're finding out, wait a minute, hold it, the market is stabilizing, and we're starting to see some price decreases back down to market value. And one more here. Oops. Oh, the other way, Jeff. There we go. Again, saw a little dip in March, but overall increasing, and a pretty big increase between in months supply of inventory between April and May. But if you take a look at May of last year, 6/10, so we've doubled the month supply over last year. And look at the curve of median prices starting to flatten out quite a bit, 410 to 410. Again, this is a good sign, I think. And you can start to see that median sold price is increasing, but at a lower rate. Okay. All right. So hopefully you got a blend of here we are today over where we were last year, but now we're able to look at some trend lines in the market and hopefully give yourself a little bit better view of what's happening. All right. Let me do one more thing here while we're on the stats page. Back to so I've been starting to put out every 7 days the status in the market there. Let's see what we've got here. Share screen. There we go. So this is, I'm doing this every Tuesday, just pick a day, but it seems to be a good balance of the last 7 days. And as of last week, take a look at the balance in the market, 850 new listings overall, 1,100 sales, 884 pendings. And look at the price drops, 771 price drops. Those are almost like new listings, because there are people that have said, okay, I tried, I bought it for 300 last year. Got it on the market for 399 and I don't have any, I'm not getting any showings or offers. And my agent told me that I was crazy to market it at that price in the first place. So now we're starting to see things come down. And if you look at where you can get this information on the front page of MLS, you can click on that and you can break it down into, you know, different markets and different areas of the county. Again, Collier, 286 in, 382 out, 250 pending, slightly less than new listings, and 245 on the price reductions. Same in Lee, 489 in, slightly more out, slightly more pendings, but look at the number of price increases relative to new listings. It's almost like you can take this 850 and this 771 and say, okay, that's new inventory on the market because it's either reduced and being offered at a different level, or it's being introduced new. So I'll continue to put these out. Again, they're going on the Facebook page. You're welcome to take them and send them to your customers, but hopefully we're trying to send a message out that things are getting better in our market and there are more opportunities for buyers. Prices are stabilizing and inventory, overall inventory is increasing. So that's the message. Just so you know, go back here to dashboard. Let's see. Share screen, dashboard. Okay, so everybody hopefully can see this. This is your dashboard in MLS, and this Market Watch is a widget that you can move around anywhere that you like, but basically it's allowing you to customize this and look at new listings. This is the 6th day. We'll go see tomorrow, but look at new 895, sold 854, pending 859, and price decrease still very high at 740. So you can hit the customize here, and you can customize this to your market or to your market area. And you can also look at these things. If I look at the price decreases, I can jump into a report that shows me, you know, what they're down. Now, many of them are modest. There's one 7%. There's one 21%. So that, you know, 15% here in Naples Park. So anyhow, you can start to see what's happening in the market, you can always sort this by sub-condo and look at it in terms of a particular neighborhood and what's happening in that neighborhood. So there's a great deal of information on the front page of your dashboard there. And I suggest that when you log in every day as part of your morning routine, that you look at these numbers and see what they're doing. And when you're asked how's the market, you've got an idea of what's happening. What a number that seems to have gone down are back on the markets. That number used to be much higher, but again, you can take a look at these and you can see that if you sort this by days on market, you can see we have to go to page 5 before we get to 20 days. So out of the 197 back on markets, we have to go to listing number 115 before we get to 20 days. So the message is the same. The market still has a lot of properties going under contract for due diligence and then popping right back out. So again, if you go back to the dashboard, these are almost new inventory. New listings, price decreases, and back on market, 1,800 properties, something like that, 900 and 700, 1,600, 1,800 properties either came on the market, were priced lower, or came back on the market from pending status. That's a lot of activity, and I think it's good. Okay, so any comments, questions at this point? I'm going to stop my share, go back face to face here. Anybody have any comments or questions or thoughts? You don't have to speak at once. Mark, what do you think?
Well, I think, as again, I may have mentioned in our last call, it's reading what's not on the chart and trying to look between the lines. And with rising interest rates and the forecast for even higher rates, I think we're going to see some buyers who make offers that are contingent upon the closing of their property where they are now. And sellers are going to have to get adjusted to that idea. Unless they have multiple offers or unless they've just come on the market after a while, and especially during the summer months, it might be wise to consider some out-of-the-box thinking.
Yeah, I think that surely the interest rates are having an effect on affordability. The amount of cash in our market still remains around 60%. So there's still quite a few cash buyers out there, whether they're taking money out of the market, I guess it's down again pretty good today, or whether they're just relying on cash to buy a second home or whatever. There's still quite a bit of cash in the market, so it's not quite as influenced by the interest rates, but clearly affordability has changed. We just did a lunch and learn at NABOR last Friday, and we had a couple of experts on there in insurance, and clearly the insurance factor is becoming a problem in affordability. Rates are up in the non last resort carrier citizens. Rates are up 15-20%, which can be a big deal when you're looking at one of the things we talk a lot about is people, although they buy a home for a certain price, they're buying the monthly cost of ownership, right? Whatever that is, mortgage, all your utilities, your insurance, your taxes, all of those things factor into the overall cost of ownership of the home. And therefore, the affordability issue is changing. And one of the things that we talked about a lot at the lunch and learn was, if you're working with a buyer, you need to make sure that you and the buyer are on the same page on what, not what you ask them, what's your price range. The price range really is only one part of the equation. What is your total, how much are you willing to invest on a monthly basis to own this property? I think is the question. And that can be far different than saying, I'm pre-approved for 575,000. Now, there's a big difference in affordability here. And I recommend you, there's a pretty good app that our affiliated title company has called TA Access One, but there's a number of apps, and there's a number of internet sites that'll give you a seller net sheet or a buyer net sheet and talk about the total monthly payment that a buyer will make to ongoing and what their closing costs will be. And so the selling price of the home is still only a small factor in the overall cost of ownership of the home. And if you're doing a mortgage, then obviously you have your mortgage payment, and the principal and interest has gone up a little bit, but also many of these mortgages require to escrow a year of insurance fees or 6 months of insurance fees and taxes and things like that. So, it can be a big shock to the buyer who's thinking, oh, this is my price range, and finds out, wow, I have to come up with this much cash to close, and it's going to cost me this much per month to own the property. And that's a huge area that you can differentiate yourself as a true professional by providing that information to the buyer up front before they dive in and get in the middle of their due diligence and go, I really had no idea that the insurance was going to be this much, the flood coverage, the other taxes. So it's just important that we look at the big picture for our customers and not just on the price of the home. So that's my 2 cents worth for the day. But I think really it's important because affordability is changing drastically. Cost of living, obviously, I just spent double to fill up my tank this morning than I did last year. So obviously everybody's impacted by inflation, and can a purchase of a home help you fight inflation? Yeah, sure, because it's flattening the cost of ownership once you know what it is. And so there you go. Any comments or questions on that? I don't see anything in the chat. So either you guys are having a nice nap or some of these things are helping you. There you go. So one of the things that I wanted to do with you today was I wanted to show you a little bit about contract to close and command. And the first thing I want to do for you is I want to go back and let me share this screen here. Okay, so when you log into command, and I'm one step ahead of that, but I'll go back home there. I'll just go right back to the beginning. When you log into command, let me just show you, I think we touched on this briefly the other day, but you can see this little guy right here. I'm going to move my screen down a little bit there. See this little guy right here? It says Marketplace. Very cool little tab there. Hit on this tab and take a look at some of the things. This is the Keller Williams Marketplace that's associated with command. And it's unbelievable how many things that are out there that are available to you. For example, there's an opportunity from KWRI here called Market My Listing, and $175. Let's take a look at the details. So I'm going to sign up for this. It's actually a KWRI product, and I've had several people use this. And what you're going to get for your $175, okay? You're going to get a social media ad, a Facebook ad, already prepared for you and ready to launch. All you have to do is decide on your budget and your demographics that you're going to use for your Facebook post. And Facebook posts are still producing quite a bit of leads, and generally in the $1 a lead range. So you're going to get an open house flyer, again using command as the library, command design. You're going to get a smart plan, which is basically going to allow you to advertise, promote your listing to your database. You're going to get a just listed flyer that you can distribute, print, or online. You're going to get a property brochure to use in the open house, right? Really nice quality. You're going to get a just listed postcard, and you're going to get an email campaign that allows you to go out and send emails out promoting your listing with nice pictures of the listing, all that information. So for those of you that don't want to fool with command design and do all this yourself, although it's doable, if you're busy or if this is not your bend, one-time payment, other than the cost of running the Facebook ad, is a pretty reasonable amount of money. And I've had several people use this and say, wow, I got a good deal for that. That was a lot of stuff that I didn't, and it's done pronto. So if you want to take a look at that, you can try one. These are just a sample of the products that are available in, and you can go into all the products. Professional services will give you a different breakdown. Notice, Mark, there's a pretty cool thing in here called Market My Luxury Listing. And basically it's a similar package by KWRI, only we use it uses all of the luxury marketing materials from the luxury library. Okay. And again, prepares it for you. Remember now, for those of you, you can become a member of the luxury KW luxury group if you have 2 sales over 1 million in the last 2 years. But if you don't have that, but you have a listing over $1 million and you saw the median price, it's not that difficult to have a listing over $1 million. Some of these neighborhoods have grown up quite a bit in price. Some that were 600,000-700,000 a couple of years ago are now over $1 million. So you get $1 million listing that entitles you to the right to use all of the KW luxury marketing materials, signage, emails. It just does not entitle you as a general member of the KW luxury group to use it in your signature and to use it for all your promotions. But here again, same thing. Social media ad, open house flyer, says print ready, files will be provided. Open house email campaign, just listed flyer, buy full property brochure, just listed postcard, and just listed campaign. There's no mention of a smart plan in here, but I think in this particular case, they're giving you a couple of other things to do open houses with and to do just listed. So there you go. Very, I think a lot of value for a relatively small amount of money. The other thing I was going to show you today is in the training section, they have an excellent, again, put on by the KWRI Enablement Group, a new group under Keller Williams University. And their whole purpose in life is to put programs together to help you, to enable you to work with command and to grow your business. So one of their classes here is called From Contract to Close. We did a brief contract to close a couple of weeks ago, and everybody came away. Several of you said, this is way too confusing. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So look at this. Look at the price here, free, one time. So you can go through this, you can register it. It's not offered, it's offered 2 days a week. I think it's Wednesdays and Fridays, but it's a 90-minute class, hands-on, by Zoom, and you get a recording of the class. So if you're in a particular area and you now have a contract and you're trying to go through this, you can go back to that recording and go to the specific section that you're having trouble with. Maybe it's getting documents out of a room in Docusign or whatever. You can always go back to that portion in the recording and review it. So I encourage all of you that are new to the contract process to sign up for this. I think it's offered this Wednesday. And like I say, it's 90 minutes, you get a recording. And what you can expect is to be able to start a transaction in command and get basic Docusign use, how to transition to a room in Docusign from command, and how to complete and submit your documents for compliance, and also for what we call a DA, or a pay authorization. So I think that if you were to go through all this in 90 minutes and save the recording, that some of the complexity that's imputed into this process is not really there. It's just a few steps, and yet it is a regimen that we say, if you want to get paid, you got to follow these steps. We're not asking for a great deal. You got to put a contact in your database. You've got to put the basic documents in. You've got to upload them into Command for compliance review, and yours truly gets that opportunity. But we like to look at your contracts and make sure that everything is in order. And you won't see a nasty message from me, but you might say, hey, I need your deposit receipt, or I need you to submit these addenda that you reference in the contract, because when we get into any kind of potential litigation, this is our record of what we did in the transaction. And that's why it's so important, is that we make sure we comply, so that our E&O coverage that you're paying for every month will kick in if you have a problem with a transaction. So again, this is a real easy thing. You hit buy now, you sign up for it, and it's there. So there are a ton of other classes and various rates and things, but a lot of the stuff is free and can maybe help you dive into the details of Docusign. For those of you that are not that familiar with Docusign, free class. There you go. So that's a very nice feature that's in right on your dashboard as you log in. I need to get out of here, and I can't do this. All right, hold on here. All right, back to Marketplace. I'm going back to Command. I'll share my screen. Back to Command. All right. So we're back to the basic command that you logged in on. And then what I'm going to do is I set up an opportunity a couple of weeks ago. And I want to go there with you. So we've picked out a property. This is kind of annoying. This little bar here won't let me. There we go. Okay. We picked out a property in and let's see where we are. There we go. So we picked out a random property that was one of our listings, and we said, okay, we want to figure out what it would take to work with a buyer on this transaction. So we got the property listing here, and then we went over to Command, and we looked in our opportunities, and we set up an opportunity. Now, I recommend, obviously, the first thing you need to do when you've got a contract is you need to set a contact up in Command. So you did that by putting the contact there, and we had Jeff Jones as our buyer, and we now have this opportunity here. So we put the details in to Command. We haven't done anything with Docusign just yet, but we put the details in. I always recommend you name your opportunity to be the property address. It's easier to find it. If you put the buyer's name in, Jones, and you have a name like mine, and you have 4 Joneses, it's a little tougher to, if you need to research your transaction. But you notice we have an opportunity assigned right now, and we're in Command, and we put the details in. The little pencils allow you to edit them. There's the market center. That was a buyer referral. The owner is Jeff Jones. The contact name is Jeff Jones. It's active. Remember, always when you are going through this sheet, you'll have an opportunity to put these things in when you're just cultivating them. But when you want to go ahead and use them, in terms of creating a transaction and creating a room and submitting to the market center, you have to have it in active status, okay? And then the stage is negotiations, right? And the time frame is, let's say, 3 or 4 months. We're estimating closing now. We're going to have to move that out because we're already in June. Let's move that out to July. Let's move that to July 28th. Appointments, contract date, closing date. We just moved that to July 20th. There you go. All right. Again, at the bottom, make sure you put in your commission rate, right? And over here, it's always a great idea to put the property in, right? Now, this property will sync with the KWLS, which is our Keller Williams MLS. That gets fed every day from your local MLS. So the properties are in there. It's really important to have that property information in there. And then what can we do? We can go ahead now and we can create the opportunity and put it in the documents. All right. If you wanted to put some information in about your buyer profile, hopefully by this time you have used your KW app and you've invited your customer to the app, and then this information will link in there. Okay, documents. Okay, now you see where it says go to transaction. When I first did this, I set it up as a Docusign transaction. And if you go from command to creating an opportunity or room in Docusign, the two will be linked so that all you have to do is grab forms back and forth when you're ready to submit by being a source Docusign. And then if any document that's in there like that will get pulled up, and I'll show you in just a minute. So we can now go to the transaction, which will link us to Docusign. And voila, we are automatically logged into Docusign and linked to a room that has our documents in it, right? So we're now free. This is the, remember one of the things that's really cool is you can go into Matrix and you see where there's documents here. Can everybody see this or do I need to reshare it?
I can see it.
Are you seeing the MLS listing or not?
We do.
You see the MLS listing? Okay. So look over here. See where it says supplements? This is the supplements that were uploaded by the listing agent. And I can now take that document and I can upload it into my Docusign room, right? So I can move that down here. Great. Okay. So now I'm back into my documents in my room, and notice that I've uploaded the seller's disclosure and the homeowners association report along with my sales contract. So here's my sales contract, and notice that because I put some of this information in, now a lot of the information from the buyer side is in there. And I'll show you in a minute how we could get all the rest of the information in. But there's my contract. So I can begin filling this out with what offer I want to make. And I can then save and close that. And now I have a document I can put in an envelope and send to my buyer for signature. Also notice here, over here in the rooms, there's details, right? And some of these details are copied in from command, but some of the details are not, like, for example, the seller's information. But the minute I put the seller information in there, right, and the agent information in there, notice that all my information on the buyer came in from my contact, right? And there's the buyer agent's information also, right? So once that information is in there, every time I pull up a document, that information's automatically auto-populated into the form, so I don't have to re-enter it every time. All right, so I can go ahead and add documents as I want to. I can go to Docusign Forms. I can add them from my computer, but if I go to Docusign Forms, there'll be a list of all the documents that I have access to, and I can select whether I want NABOR forms or FARBAR forms, and there's all the addenda, and all I have to do is click on that, and it will add the document to my Docusign. So if I wanted to have an addendum for, let's see, let's say I had an addendum for FHA VA financing, all I do is click on that, add selected. There's the form. Again, it will be auto-populated with any information that has come in from the information in command, or from what I put in with the detail information when I put it in the room there. Okay. Now I'm doing this class that I just showed you that you can get in from your marketplace is going to go into excruciating detail on all these. I'm just trying to give you a high level overview of what it is. So now when I'm ready to send this to my buyer for signatures, all I'm going to do is go over here. I'm going to click the word envelope. I'm going to add a new envelope. And then I can add documents to that envelope, right? I'm going to put in the seller's disclosure, the addendum, the HOA disclosure, and the sales contract. So all those are now in the envelope. And I'm kind of a sequence freak, so I'm going to put the sales contract here. I'm going to put the addendum to the sales contract here. I'm going to put that's the, excuse me, I got the seller's disclosure there and the HOA disclosure. So those are all the documents that are going in my envelope. Then I have to add a recipient, and I can use room participants here, and I can say, I want Jeff Jones, the buyer. I want to send it to him. And then I'm going to send Jeff Jones, the agent. And I'm just going to send him a copy. All right. And I'm going to set I can now set the recipient's order. I'm going to change that to 2. So Jeff Jones has to sign before Jeff Jones, the buyer, has to sign before Jeff Jones, the agent, gets a copy, right? So when I'm done signing as the buyer, this is automatically going to my agent. Then I can take that copy and download it and use it to send to the other side for presenting my offer. Okay, I can write a message, right? And then when I'm ready, I'm gonna hit next. And there will be all those contract docs in there. So I can go through here. And again, if I had put the seller information in and all that information would be in here. But now I can go through here. I've already prepared the sales contract and I can go and I can place a signature. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you know, there's my buyer's signature. I'm just going to go here and put the signature there. And I'm always going to add a date signed. And that's how easy it is to prepare an envelope to send to a customer. When I got it all in there, I can preview it and I can send it. I'm going to discard this because it's just for purposes. But once your buyer has signed, you can go back to your documents and the signed document will be in your envelope. Those all the ones that these are just forms, but once they're signed, they'll come back in as signed documents. Okay. Great. So now I've done my job in Docusign. And I'm going to go back to command. And now I can access those documents. See if any of this stuff. I'm pretty sure they have to be completed documents. I can't just load them. But once it's signed, I can select that signed form and it'll pop it right in there. I don't have to do anything else. So once I have a signed contract in my room here, these are forms. When I send them in the envelope that I just showed you and they come back signed, they'll come back in a different form signed, and then I can access that document in command and bring it right in. Let's see if it'll work. Oh, I have to have signed documents before I can do that. All right, so that's how I get into compliance. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get paid. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put in an offer, right? You can add an offer or you can modify. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and put an offer in, right? And I want to put in the details of what I want to put in. Let's see if I can edit the offer. There we go. All right, so this is what an offer looks like. Purchase offer, close date. We're going to we moved that to 7/28. And we put the property address in there and verified that. Say we're going to save that. And we could have gone down and put the new purchase price in there and all that, but we come back and now we accept that offer. And now we can go ahead and manage our commission. And this allows you to go ahead in here and put in all of the various information. And your name and your split and everything will pop up here, right? And the net to the agent is set up. And then over here on the right, I have a commission summary, and I can submit that to the market center administrator, who will check to make sure that the documents are approved in compliance and everything, and they'll issue you what's called a DA, direct authorization, and they'll load it into your opportunity right here. See the distribution authorization. The market center administrator will upload that document in there, and you can then send that to your closing agent and get paid at the table. So that's just a rough overview of the steps that you take to put a transaction in command and to get paid. So that's pretty much, you know, obviously I may have gone through it too fast, or I may have gone through it, you know, but I just wanted to show you that it's not difficult to create a contact, set up an opportunity, put the details in, put branched over to Docusign, create your documents, send them in an envelope, and then bring them back, right? From your Docusign room and bring them right down into compliance here. Okay, so if everybody's not asleep by now, I gave you a rough workflow. And if you've not done a contract with us before, you can take that class. It's free. It's an hour and a half long, and it'll take through in much more detail than I just did. But these are the steps. It's not that difficult to do it, but we require that you do that when you have a contract. Obviously, there's a listed side and a sold side. And when you get done with your closing, you're going to upload your closing statement and you'll have a complete file. You can get your check and live happily ever after. So that's a rough overview of how to create a transaction in Command and how to work it through Docusign, get the signed documents, get back, upload them for compliance, set up your commission, and that's it. Over high level view of the whole transaction. So is there, like, does anybody have any questions, or did I totally confuse you, or what? How I mean, this is the audience participation part. Marius, talk to me.
Oh, hi, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What I've noticed, it's a problem with the standard time on the signature. For some reason, Docusign, the way you set it up, first, you cannot eliminate the time. Lots of companies don't even use the time. They use only the date. But the other thing is it's not showing the standard Eastern time. It's showing either the Pacific time or the whatever the other one is. And I tried to change it in settings, and I even asked one of the office people to help me out, and we couldn't do it.
Well, you'll get, when the documents come back from a signed document, you'll get a certificate of completion. And it has to do with which server it was sent through. And, you know, 6:29 Pacific is 9:29 Eastern. And the time.
No, I don't have a problem with that. It's just that the person is not on the West Coast. It's still on the East Coast. I'm not sure if this can be a legal argument, or you know, somebody wants to imply that's not me that signed it because I'm not on the Pacific Coast. But I'm just saying that we couldn't change that. Even the person was on the East Coast and was a standard standard Eastern time, we couldn't make that change. It's something in the system embedded that's corrupting the file.
No, it's not corrupting it at all. It's the server, the Docusign server, when it was certified. And it doesn't matter whether it's Pacific time or Eastern time or whatever, it's certifying that the signature was electronically placed and identified, certified at that time. And if it says 29 Pacific time, that's 9:29 Eastern time. I don't think that it affects the legality or the validity of the signature. But I have noticed.
It shouldn't. It's a technicality. It shouldn't. They should be the same. Yes.
I don't, like I say, I don't know that it would ever be, that it would be challenged. I've been doing Docusign since 2010. And I've noticed that from time to time, I get a different date when the signature was certified. And I think it has to do with in their network, what server it went to, but I've never had anybody question it. And I think that the fact that it was certified at a different time, if you translate it to the current time, it's the same. So we can certainly ask Docusign about it, but I don't see any issue there. So.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Jeff.
No problem. Mark, how do we do there? You've done a lot of this. Did we make it clear as mud?
Well, I think it's one of those things you have to watch the recording again.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why I think that course from the marketplace is a hands-on, walk you through each step, and then here's the recording in case you have.
I think overall, for many agents, no matter which company they're with or how long they've been in the business, if you're not frequently doing transactions, then you tend to forget some of these steps. So you need somebody to either refresh your memory or watch the video again. If you're doing 12 transactions a year and they're not consistently happening one a month, it may be a couple of months between one and the next one, and you might not remember all those details.
Or you could use a transaction coordinator. We have several that work for various agents in the office. And we also have that option now at the Market Center. I think we have it for $99 a transaction as an intro. But you could use a transaction coordinator who's familiar with that whole thing.
I agree. I think where you try to cut corners and save a little bit, you get what you pay for. And finding somebody who's experienced and knows what they're doing and is working for doing many transactions in our local marketplace is invaluable.
So I just was seeing that there was a shortage of lifeguards on the news the other day, and I was a lifeguard. I was a certified water safety instructor, and we called it reach, row, throw, go. All right. And what I get are these people that are drowning. They have a closing tomorrow, and they're like, what do I do now? And oftentimes Broker Jeff will do whatever he can to bail you out. But it's one of those things where if you'd like to have a transaction coordinator, we can make that happen for you. So the minute you get your contract, you can use that assistance until you get to the point where you feel like you can do it yourself. And I just think that sometimes it seems overly complex when in fact the process is relatively simple. As Mark said, if you haven't done it for a couple months, maybe you don't remember all the steps. But if you can always reach out to me, and as long as you're early on in the process, I can help you. It's when you say, Broker Jeff, the closing's tomorrow. It's 3:00 in the afternoon, and what do I do now? And what I do now is go, you're going to have to get your check cut from the title company and sent back to the Market Center, and then I can help you create a pay authorization. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that the earlier you can get your information in, and if you have a little question or a stumble, ask me. I'm happy. That's what I'm here for. That's my job. So,
it's about meeting those contingencies within a contract that the transaction coordinator is going to help you stay on top of it. And what happens if you get busy with another client, or you get sick and you miss an important deadline, or your client misses an important deadline, that could be very costly. So having a second set of eyes watching your transaction is valuable.
For sure. And whenever we teach contracts, we teach calendaring all the important dates. And, if you got one contract or two, or even maybe three, you can keep up with that, but it's real easy and we want you to be ahead of the due date. So you can be with your customer and say, hey, Mark, the financing contingencies, due on Thursday, and this is Monday. So let's talk about it. Let's figure out what we need to do. You
don't want to be calling them on Thursday saying it's due today.
No. So all of this is there to help you have a good relationship with your customer. You miss a date, or you're constantly calling at the last minute saying, hey, we need to do this now. That's not a good vote of confidence to your customer that might want to call you to do another deal. So I think you have to be careful to understand that the paperwork and the contract is just as important as the relationship with your customer for the future as it is to the details of a transaction today. We only have one retirement plan. That retirement plan is people like you, they trust you, they work with you, they bring you additional business, and they refer you to other people. That's all we got. So when you have an opportunity to use what we have, which is quite thorough, use it. Or as Mark said, for $99 now or a couple $100, people are like, well, that's a lot of money. Well, the average commission check in the shop is probably $9,000 to $10,000 now with the current pricing. So are you willing to invest $200 or $300 to make sure everything's on time with your customer and you haven't left anything out and you're ahead of them in terms of talking to them and relating to them? To me, it's ultimately worthwhile. So
If you've got somebody who's seasoned in our market as a closing coordinator, they oftentimes know how to navigate with title companies, with homeowners associations, condo associations, coordinating with others that you might never had any contact with any of those entities before. And so they've done a number of transactions with other agents and they know how to thread that needle very, very quickly.
well, I honestly think if you start off with a transaction coordinator, and then if you find that this is pretty easy stuff technically for you, and you're doing half a dozen deals a year, you can do them yourself. But to start off with, it's a lot of information, a lot of things, understanding the contract, understanding the deadlines, working with the title company, working with inspectors, things like that. There's a lot of moving parts. And again, remember, the execution side is only one side of our business. The main side is spending the time every day going out and prospecting and looking for new business. So make sure you understand the value of your time and the value of making sure that everything happens on time and in time in the contract. And that's going to maybe give you a great chance of getting more business from the same customer or getting a recommendation. So that's it. And that's all I have. Broker Jeff is finished for the day. I'll post these stats on the Facebook page, the private Facebook page. You're welcome to take these and send them to your customers. It's a great smart plan if you want to set one up in Command, but a regular updating of the customers with current market information seems to be a real sticky thing, as far as maybe there's other agents that are talking to your customer, but if you're sending them current market information, talking to them, calling them once in a while, they tend to stick with you. So that's all of these tools are available to you, and they're all included for a modest charge in your monthly office fee. So
I'm just going to add that for those that are listening to this probably later on the recording, is be careful when you're looking at properties and you're representing a buyer and it shows where there is a homeowners association fee, even if it's a couple $100 a year, and there's no homeowners association disclosure form, there's no contact information. That's a kind of a red flag to start doing some digging. And you can even look back at other listings that have either been on the market or have closed and try to track back where that association is. I'm working with a buyer, for a listing right now, and there is a condominium association, but there's also a master association that gets a nominal fee for the security at the front gate. And nobody is disclosing that there is a mandatory homeowners association that is paid through the condominium dues, but it's still an association, still has to be disclosed to the buyer.
yeah, and if it's not, the buyer basically can trigger a 3-day right of review and walk away at any time during the transaction. So that's another little detail that we teach, but it's every one of these situations a little bit different. So again, you all have my email and my cell. I'm here to help you. Questions are easier asked when it's in advance than when it's too late. So there you go.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, have a great day. Thank you for your time, and hope it's been valuable to you. Take care.
Thank you, Jeff.
Welcome.